Hello and welcome back to Logical Magic, examining esoterica. Hey guys, today I have an episode for you about the importance of breaking your routines. Even if you're in a practice, even if you are engaged in some form of ritual belief, it is actually very important to break your routines. I'm going to go into why in a little bit, but we're going to do the housekeeping at the top of this, as I have been told to do. If you need to find me for a life coaching session or a tarot card reading, the only way to book me is through my website at therisingmoon.com, and that's where you can find me. I have a Patreon where I have weekly readings. I'm teaching tarot in reverse. I've got some protective magic up there as well. That's going to be linked in either the episode notes or the description box down below. And then I have a YouTube channel, Chromecast at The Rising Moon, where you can find things like the pick-a-cards that I do for the general readings. If you need some help with healing your chakras, I've got readings on that. I've got readings on a bunch of different things. Check it out if you get a chance. And guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, please don't forget to leave a review of it. If anything that helps promote it helps me continue to do this. So on iTunes is the most helpful. If you have a moment, 5 stars is always appreciated. If you would rather not, no problem, but I do have to put that out there. And that's the conclusion of this week's reasons around the housekeeping. Let's get talking about the importance of breaking routines. Whenever you're your intuition isn't working the way that you need it to, if you're trying to manifest, if you're working with the law of attraction and your manifestations are not coming into the 3D at the rate that you would want them to, if you feel like you're sliding backwards into old patterns with relationships, if you're trying to develop new things, new businesses, new ideas, if you're trying to be creative, the first thing that you need to do is consider the routines in your life. Now, particularly for trauma survivors build a feeling of safety in their external patterns. And so you will often find a form of OCD that is not like whenever you think OCD, please stop thinking of people turning off a light switch 400 times or having to return home because they think the oven is on. OCD is a compulsive or a habitual pattern that you have assigned special meaning to, or you cannot stop yourself from doing. So it does exist in a sliding scale, and it's very present with trauma survivors, particularly people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is very, very common for adult survivors of childhood abuse in its many forms. And it is not a weakness, it is a result, an energetic and emotional result of mistreatment that kind of rewires your brain in the way that it responds to your emotions and to the energies around you. And it's absolutely something that you can learn to work with to have a better quality of life, better experience, better relationships. But you do need to be aware of it without self-criticism. You didn't do it to yourself, but you can learn the tools about how to work with it. And that also is part of why you need to break routines. If you are in trauma recovery, one of the most beneficial things you can do is to start learning that your feeling of safety, your feeling of power in this world does not come from your external circumstances, it comes from your internal ones. And that also ties into things like divination, into manifestation, into magic, and absolutely anything that we do. It is not the external representation or order of things around us that gives us power over our reality. It is the internal one. And whenever we want something to manifest in the 3D, we have to work within the 3D. And so it can be as simple as like when you have leftovers, one of the things that you might want to do is make something different out of them. I think a lot of people grew up with people who knew grandmothers who they could look in the refrigerator and make an entirely new meal out of the leftovers that were in there. They were endlessly creative with what they had available to them. And that is actually a form of magic. And that is actually the first form of magic that I engaged in without realizing it. I come from a genetic predisposition I have is to be a very good cook from my mom's side. And I started cooking at a very young age. And it took me a long while to realize that that more would happen in my life with the things that I was trying to make happen as I was cooking and as I was more creative with the cooking. It's part of the reason I stopped being a vegan and returned more to like a pescatarian state. Even though I don't eat much fish, it's easier to call myself a pescatarian. Releasing rigidity is one of the things that is pattern breaking as well. Which is not to say that you can't manifest if you're a vegan, you absolutely can, but be aware of your patterning in other areas. Breaking your pattern allows for essentially your energetic pattern to open, to receive more. You're not in a closed circuit. When you're engaging in routines, you're basically creating a closed circuit of energy. If you get up at the same time every day, if you eat the same breakfast every day, if you go to the same coffee shop every day, you're basically wearing an energetic groove into your life. And it does not have to be radical change. It can be small change. It can be going to a different coffee shop. It can be ordering a different coffee. It can be going there with a different person. It can be going at a different time. Play with your routines, not to the point of you're upsetting yourself where you don't have any sameness. Some people need that for a feeling of security, but to work with what you are comfortable with, to do something that is different from what you've done in the past. It will open up your intuition. It will open up so many different areas of your life, including your creativity, including your inspiration. And that is actually our guidance, our connection to our higher self is guidance to how to get the best possible outcomes from the energy that we're creating. So it works with our guides, work with our choices, not the other way around. Our guides are never doing anything to us. They are trying to advise us to do the best possible things that we can do with the possibilities available to us. And when we do something that they're like, oh, wish you hadn't done that, they're up there trying to, problem solve on the fly and trying to give us our information and our guidance. Your guidance gives you the best possible outcomes, the choices that you can make for the best possible outcomes. If you're stuck in a rut, if you're stuck in a routine, if you do the same things day after day, if you wear the same things week after week, it's not about bringing in new things. It's about creating new out of what you already have. Because that's really what manifesting is about. It's about rearranging the energies in your life to get a different result. To get a different result, you have to be open to do something differently. Now, here's where the spiritual significance of changing patterns comes in. A lot of people, they have a morning routine. They have a nighttime routine. When the word routine comes into play, look at that and figure out how to break it. It is one of the easiest ways to have a breakthrough. Breaking something brings through breakthroughs. Think of it that way. If you have a morning routine and you always get up, you always have your tea, your coffee, your hydration, whatever it is, and then you meditate, think about changing it up in the ways that you can, meditating 2 hours later, or perhaps meditating before you go to bed, or just changing where, how, what you're listening to, the position that you're in. Remember, flexibility is the thing that allows more to come to you. And if you are someone who is struggling with meditation, but you're hoping to manifest, start listening to something called Yoga Nidra, Nidra. My favorite one is by Julie Rader, Rader. I know that's available on Apple. I know that's available on Amazon. I don't know about other services, but you can search it out and look for it. And that is one of the ways for a workaround for I don't like to meditate. Now, I meditate like a champ these days, but I didn't always. As I was resolving some issues with anxiety, I struggled with meditation. I don't any longer. I figured out a whole practice around that. I did an entire podcast on how to meditate with anxiety and depression. I'll likely do a follow-up at a different point that is more about how to begin meditating for people who aren't working with a basically depressive energy or anxiety energy, because it can be challenging in a modern day world that always has us forward reaching to be able to be still and quiet within the moment, which is part of mindfulness, which is part of being present in the present moment. If you are not good at meditating, work with Yoga Nidra. It is something that you're meant to fall asleep to. And it will start bringing you into better alignment. It will start opening up the parts of your mind that receive that guidance. Because a lot of the times when people are lost or they feel stuck or they're not being able to create the world that they want or attract the relationship that they want, because that plays into this as well, they have a stuck pattern in their energy. Mindfully break with actual intent, with focus, go towards breaking the routines that you can. It has nothing to do with buying new things. You can if you want, but that's not the best way to do it. It is to choose to work with what you have and to break it in an interesting way. This morning I had breakfast 2 hours later than I normally would, and I had something completely different than I normally would as well. And it doesn't have to be something that you plan, but it has to be as you do something in a knee-jerk reaction, in a I've patterned myself to do this reaction, question it. It can be as simple as flossing your teeth before you brush them. That's one of the pattern breaking things that you can do. Doing something new has a tendency to attract new things to us. Doing something new has a tendency to open up our energy to new things coming towards us as well. And that can include new information, new inspiration, and an expansion of our gifts. But it does start with looking at your life for the patterns that you have and choosing to change them. And like in things like marriage counseling, when people are trying to spice up their love life together, they go on a date night, they have sex on unexpected days. It is part of the therapeutic community to look at things that we are doing by rote, things that we do over and over again, because we're not investing any of our energy or our focus into it. When we do things automatically, which is what a routine really is, we're doing one thing and expecting the exact same result over and over and over again. That is antithetical to the idea of manifesting something new. So there is just a logic pattern behind the idea that it is a good idea to break through the patterns in your life. And it's not that hard. It gives you an awareness in your life. And that is partially what you're trying to cultivate when you're trying to get more guidance, is an awareness of the energies that you're bringing into your life, what you're doing with the energies in your life as well. Particularly for people, because a lot of my clients, I'll talk to them about meditating, and a lot of them say it doesn't work for me. Now, meditation can work for anybody. It's just the skill of learning how to get your mind to be still when you want it to be, and that's very difficult in the modern day. But there are workarounds, and this is one of them. For me, I do meditate, but I will change how I meditate, what I meditate to, my intentions I do beforehand. One of the things that I have to do is a lot of protective work, because I do forms of exorcism for clients. And it's just, I don't know why in the world I was picked to do that. I just was. And after a series of misevents, I guess I'm going to call them, I realized that I had to change my protection incantation, my protection preparation based on the client and what I was working with, and to change the ways that I protect myself as well. I go through a whole series of protection every single day that I work, and I do have to do it differently. I do have to use different wording. It is the intent, but it is that breaking of a pattern so that whatever might be trying to interfere with you, the blocking energies that we all encounter in a world that is trying to continue as it has been, rather than allowing for the change that you're trying to make. One of the things that you have to do is examine your life for the patterns that are there and to change them with your will, which is always what we're trying to do when we're trying to develop a meditative practice, when we're trying to heal. You're trying to change something. One of the worst things about our modern day society in most Western cultures is we have been taught to fear change. Now, the reasons that we're taught to fear change have nothing to do with change itself. It has to do with power structures that want you to continue doing what they want you to do. So of course they don't want you to change. But change is a friend. It is inevitable, by the way. One of the beliefs in Buddhism, which I work with Theosophy, which incorporates Buddhism, the Christian religion, and Hinduism, all in one for celestial and angelic magic, is that nothing is permanent. And that is not sad or scary. It's true. You are changing every single moment of your life. Everything changes, including you. Everything is impermanent because it will be altered by the course of time. So literally nothing is permanent. And one of the ways to lean into that is to not try and repeat the same experience over and over and over again. When you're trying to make a better life, when you're trying to make a healthier life, when you're trying to establish a greater connection to the divine, to your guidance, or to your inner world, one of the things that you want to do is to break the patterns that you have established that are blocking them out. And that's why routine breaking is one of the best things to do when you are trying to heal. In order for something to get better, it must change. You are in a current state and you want to improve it. The improvement is a change. Embrace the idea that change is your friend and invite it into your life by breaking routines. It really is just genuinely that simple. Now, if you're looking at your life and you're saying, I don't know where I could do this, buy new foods at the grocery store, look up new recipes. There is a site online where you can list the ingredients that you have and ask, what can I make for this? Google it. What can I make with these ingredients? There is a site that will come up that allows you to select the ingredients, and it will give you a new recipe. Try something new at least once a week. At least once a week. Just do it once a week. Break your patterns once a week. And don't break it in the exact same way. today's the day I do my pattern breaking, so I'm going to do this instead. Don't have the routine breaking thing become a pattern in and of itself. I like to hike. I've talked about it a lot. I've had to scale back a little bit as we entered rattlesnake season, and I've been encountering a lot of rattlesnakes. But I go to different parks. I go to different trails. I try new trailheads. Have a different experience even with the things that you enjoy. And the other thing to do is if there's something you really enjoy and you don't want to risk the change because it might not be better, examine that. Examine that, because it's very difficult for change to come to you when you are resistant to it. And it is one of the ways that we kind of signal the universe, signal our guides, signal our higher self, I'm ready for this change. I'm ready for this transformation. And that is really what we're talking about when we're talking about routines. Most of the people who are interested in spiritual healing and spiritual guidance and spiritual path, they want to have a better experience, an ever-increasing experience, an ever-expanding experience. So you're inviting transformational energy into your life. And the easiest way to do that is, again, to find something in your life and simply do it differently. Rearrange the furniture in your home. Buy new bedding. If there is, I'm not a big proponent of telling people to buy things because people have limited means, but make a change in how you do things. Change your body wash so it's a different smell that you're encountering every morning. Change things up routinely. Change the vegetables that you eat. Change the cereal that you buy for your morning. Change the coffee brand that you have. Make changes and make it a fairly constant thing so that you're in a state of being willing to fluctuate with the energy that is brought to you, which is really what you're doing. There's a lot with the subconscious and the conscious mind, and it also tells your subconscious mind to relax into the changes that the universe is trying to bring to you. Because what we're supposed to do is tell the universe what we want. That is part of the whole idea of manifesting, is you want a particular thing. But I've had clients talk to me about the change that they want, but they don't want this particular area of their life to change at all. It's like, that really narrows down the windows of opportunity for the universe to bring you the changes that are meant to come to you. Allow for the idea that the change that you are asking for means that you have to embrace the idea of change within your own life. And it can be about having new experiences, making new friends, going to new places is another way to do that. If there's a thing that you like to do and you always go to the same restaurant, go to a different one. Go to a different one. Even if it's different, discomfort is something that results from making changes. And we have to get comfortable with the idea that our spiritual growth in and of itself, is a form of being uncomfortable. It does invite discomfort as we adjust to it. If you are constantly in a stage of I do different things, change stop carrying with it discomfort, and instead is about inviting new experience in. So just give that a shot as well. Find the one thing in your life that you're like, yeah, I always do this. Do something different. If you always have brewed coffee, have iced coffee. Clearly, coffee is an important substance to me because 5 of my examples have been about coffee. But but whatever it might be for you, change your patterns to start changing your life. Change, and it doesn't have to be something that disrupts your ability to rest or your wellness. So I'm not talking about staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning when you have work the next day. I'm not talking about that stuff. What I'm talking about is looking at your life for the things that you are in a settled energy, because that's what being in a routine or being in a rut is really about, is that you're in a settled energy, repeating the same things over and over and over again. And you want a different result, so you need to do different things. And it particularly works for people who are stuck. They're stuck. Their intuition isn't working the way that they think it should any longer. They no longer get their guidance from within as regularly. They can't trust it as much. They've had, I'm not going to call them false visions or anything, but their intuition isn't guiding them in the way that it used to. And it's because everything has to fit within this energetic pattern that you are carving into the universe. Change is actually the thing that you need in your life in order for literally anything to improve. And most people are not trying to manifest sameness. Let me keep all my abundant blessings, make me keep. Most people aren't. Now, I say that with a proviso. I meet lots of people who are trying to bind like partners to them and things like that, which if you try and hold something by force, it doesn't really work out usually. But like everybody walks their own path on that, and I'm not going into that here. For the most part, we want more in our lives. We want an expanding energy. We want an expanding experience. But if we engage in the same behaviors every single day, we ourselves are not expanding. Inviting change in the ways that are comfortable to you, because it does not have to be radical and it does not have to be uncomfortable. It simply has to be something that you maintain, like, I guess I just want to call them malleable walls around the reality that you have, that you inhabit, in order for things to come and take a new shape. It can be as different as, like, when I walk my dog, I have a dog, Oscar. Now, I lost my dog Puddles right around Christmas. She was almost old enough to drive. She was a really old little lady, and she's greatly missed, but it wasn't tragic. When she was gone, I was able to walk my dog, Oscar, much more like, she was very unruly on a leash, and he's very well behaved, is I guess what I'm trying to say. I take him on different walks, even with just in our little neighborhood, because I had read about how intellectually important it is to a dog to sniff new things. He's pretty old and slow in his own right these days. And so what I would do is I wouldn't worry about the amount of exercise he was getting. I would worry about the amount of intellectual engagement he was getting. And I discovered that, like, if I just really worked at it, I could find about 8 different walks within his ever shortening span that he was able to walk, because he's an old man as well. And that it really changed things for him. He got happier. He started playing more. He did not appear to mourn his companion at all. In fact, because I had that ever expanding experience for him, he greeted it as a positive change. And that is what you're really trying to do, is to have a relationship to change that is positive, that it is something that you are inviting into your life, that it is something that you view as something that is beneficial rather than something to be guarded against. And the unhappiest people that I meet, that I talk to, that I sometimes interact with, they're displeased by a changing world around them rather than trying to change with the world around them. Try to change with the world around them. If you don't like the way something new is happening, that really is your mindset. Try to gain a different perspective on it, because changes can bring growth and expansion and manifestation and increased abilities and increased connection and new people and new friendships and new. And it doesn't mean that the old is tarnished and cast aside, but that rather it doesn't become something that you no longer value. We stop valuing things when we do them in a mundane fashion over and over again. And that includes friendships, and that includes relationships. That can include your job as well. Never fear the idea that doing something different, it's not going to upset your apple cart. And if it does, it means you have something to heal. If you're not comfortable with the idea of change in an ever-changing world, that is a big flashlight on, there's something I need to heal. It is an ever-changing world. I'm changing every day. I don't look the way I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever it might be. You can see the changes in yourself. And if you view it as negative, then you are viewing a life experience with a negative eye. Because it is inevitable, embrace it, love it. Try to find the ways to make change your friend. And the changes around you will stop feeling as threatening. And you'll stop having as many fear responses to the world around you as well. And fear is the biggest blocking energy for your intuition, for your ability to manifest, for your ability to feel spiritually connected, for your ability to feel guided. Fear is one of the biggest blocking energies. Most anger is actually protecting a fear. If you start chipping away at there's no reason to be afraid of doing something different. And every now and then you'll try and do something different and you'll be like, well, that just kind of sucked. But it taught you something about what you do value, about what you do every day, so that when you go back to doing the thing that you've done, you're like, you see it with new eyes and you appreciate it instead of being a little bit blind to it. We become blind to the things that we do with kind of our blinders on going forward. I always do this thing, so I don't invest in it. I don't really see it. I'm not really present in it. And so even if the change is like that, I went to that new bagel place. Oh my God, never going back. The next day, when you return to your routine, you will have a greater sense of gratitude for it. You will appreciate it more. You will have missed it. You will see the value in it in a way that you don't when you do it day after day after day. It refreshes your ability to see your life in the positive. Change is such a friend because even if you return to the norm, only ever deviating from it occasionally, it will change how you see what you do day after day. Change is inevitable. And so the reason that to try and embrace it is going to happen anyway. So you might as well make it work for you. Everything that we do with manifestation, everything that we do with divination is working with the ability to sense and to process accurately the energies around us. Create new energy to get new answers. Create new energy to have new experiences. Create new energy to manifest new things. And the way that new comes to you is through willingly go towards change. Willingly go towards change. And occasionally that will mean maybe you're stuck in a relationship that it's not really satisfying, but you're afraid of being alone. Maybe your best life is going to be lived by yourself for a while as you start to treat yourself as your best friend, as you start to really enjoy your own company, as you start to indulge your own whims. One of the things that I talked to a client, this was years ago, I talked to a client after a breakup she was just very, very heartbroken. And understandably, we're all heartbroken when the picture that we painted of the future completely changes. It's disorienting and it can cause a great deal of sorrow. And as I was talking to her, I told her there will be a day that you get up and you do something, you eat something, you watch something, you read something that you had been denying yourself because your partner didn't like it. Maybe it's going out for Indian food because your partner didn't like Indian food, which is something I hear very, very commonly. And you will know that you were reclaiming parts of yourself that you put on a shelf in order to maintain a relationship, and you'll welcome that part of you back. That clicked for her. That clicked for her as the thing that she was looking forward to. And in fact, for her, it was Lifetime movies, sitting around and watching Lifetime movies without a sense of being embarrassed, or she just was able to fully invest in them. And her partner had mocked them. And like that, I'm not denigrating this person. It was not a particularly vicious breakup. Um, but she found a part of herself that she didn't have access to during the relationship. And so it felt like a boon. It felt like a blessing, and it felt like something that she loved being returned to her rather than losing something. And it was a change that she was able to embrace. Some change comes to us without our permission. Some change can be shocking. It can be sorrowful. But from it will always come something, an ability to appreciate what we have. Change will come for you. And the easiest way to make yourself comfortable with the changes that will come to you in an ever-changing world is to go towards change in a way where you're inviting it to see what a new sensation, a new experience might bring to you. Because you might discover your next best favorite thing. You might discover your next best friend. You might discover your next hobby. But it is about listen and focus on the word discover. If you want more in your life, if you want to be more psychic, if you want to be more guided, if you want to be more anything, think of it about discovering your expanding energy. Expansion is the key to having a more abundant life, expanding your view, expanding your mindset. And it really does come to you through breaking routines. And speaking of breaking routines, this is going to be an uncharacteristically rather short episode because I usually do somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 minutes to 60 minutes. But I'm going to be breaking a routine here because I'm trying to live what I say. Try to live what you say as well. Whatever it might be that you're valuing, really try to live it, whether it's your beliefs or whether it's your values, whatever it might be. Season 2 of Logical Magic has just concluded, and this is the first episode of season 3. And I have some really fun episodes coming up for you on self-discipline and how to start re-examining it in your life. I've got one on faith versus science. I've got another on good and evil, and I've got another on the energetics of relationships, and still another on compassionate activism. We've got a lot of stuff coming up in season 3, and I'm so glad to have you here. So welcome to season 3 of Logical Magic, Examining Esoterica. Embrace change, and the positives will come to you more easily. But if you treat change as a negative, you're blocking things out. And I don't mean you're blocking your blessings. You're not blocking your blessings. You're not allowing them in, which is a slightly different thing. You have to make the space for something to come in and be different And it starts by allowing difference into your life. Make change a friend. It is part of our existence. Everything changes with each passing moment. We become a different version of ourselves. The people we know change over the course of time. Invite change into your life by breaking your routines and watch the magic of transformation come into your life and stay in your life. This has been Logical Magic, examining esoterica. If you need to find me, you can do so at therisingmoon.com, or you can find me at Chromecast at The Rising Moon on YouTube. And again, I have a Patreon. Everything is either in the episode notes below or in the description box on the video. And if you are looking for the video version of this instead of the audio, that is available at Chromecast at The Rising Moon. Take care. Be well, make change a friend.